So I want to just basically bring 4 books that I think everybody should read. But these are especially for my young brothers, my nephews, all you out there. 4 books I definitely think you should read. So the first one is a book that I think is very critical if you want to ever be in sales. I do robotic sales, and it's actually one of the most profound sales book in my opinion that can really help you be very skillful and very efficient at doing sales. Never Split the Difference is a book by this FBI negotiator who basically discusses his tactics as to be successful in negotiation for hostages. High stakes are involved. He has skill set to basically negotiate and win those situations to bring people home. Now, the reason why it's one of my favorite books is because it's not just really about how to settle compromises and how to settle and negotiate to get what you want, but it's also a profound book as to how to talk to people and discover it. And it's almost like an anthropologist in a sense. Because the way to be impactful in sales is to understand the mindset of the person you're selling to. And for you to be able to do that, you have to tap into your own humane self to understand how they tick as a person. You have to understand what's most important to them. So you got to peel these layers of this person and get inside them to know how to basically respond and basically provide value to what they're looking for. So yes, I'm selling a product, but I have to sell the value of that product to them to be able to make that sale, right? You have to figure out what's most important to them, and that most important to them could be I want to make more money, but I want to make more money to have more time with my family. So if I explain how this product, this robots are going to provide more ability for them to make more money and to not do as much work and to be able to come home sooner and faster so they can spend more time with their family, to them it's just a no-brainer. But I have to be able to dig deep within myself to understand and be comfortable to ask those sort of questions. And a lot of people aren't comfortable doing that. A lot of people are not comfortable being uncomfortable. But the more you're able to be comfortable being uncomfortable and peel back the layers of people, you can talk to people in all kind of ways, and you can talk to people in all walks of your life. For sales, for relationships, for friendships, for mentoring, volunteering, being a therapist, anything of those things of the nature, that if it involves you talk to other people, being able to empathize with them and talk to them and to understand them is how you can really talk to them. And so to me, one of the most critical books I try to keep in mind all the time. The third book, the second book actually, I'm gonna say, is going to be The Fast Lane. Had one of the most profound effects on me because it's changed my trajectory for what I wanted to do entirely. I pivoted from wanting to be this stock guru person to now I need to think about how I can make an impact in people's lives and sell that to them. That makes me feel better about it, but I can put more effort and work into it and be able to make a large sum of my capital and then invest that and live off the investment returns year by year. Because when I was trading and investing in stocks and everything of that nature, it basically only did was basically I transferred basically putting all this time and effort into one job to now I'm putting into 2 jobs. And even if I was to solely just do trading the stocks and everything, it would still be a lot of work for something that you can't really get a lot of return on unless you make more capital to invest in. No matter how much more work you put into it, you can't make more unless you put in more money, right? So your deal is to make more capital, make as much money as possible, and then invest that and live off the return because that's the fast lane. If you think about people who 300x their investment, it's people who sell companies, not people who sell shares. It's when they sell shares of so much shares of a company that it's a large number of shares. But for you to make a significant return on anything is to have a large amount of capital. So figure out how ways to provide value and make a large capital from it to invest in and then live on financially free from it, from just the returns. And so that's how I've been thinking now about what I want to do in anything is what can I make automatically that gives me passive income and a large capital of it to just invest it. So the third book, I might have a bonus in there too, is The Subtle Art of Not Giving Up. Honestly, it's like my daily Bible in a way. I stand by it, I live by it. I tend to make sure I only reserve the F's that I have for the most important things for me. Because if you're giving the F about everything, then you're spread thin, right? You can't focus in on what truly matters because everything upsets you. And like, how are you gonna get through life if everything bothers you? How are you going to maneuver through life if everything bothers you? How are you going to live for yourself if you worry about what everybody else is doing? And you worry about how other people see you, and you worry about how you're perceived, and you worry about anything that goes on in your life, you're constantly worried about what people think of you. What that means is that if you constantly think about what the people think about you, you're constantly seeking external validation for who you are inside. And if you're constantly seeking external validation, it's able for people to control you, persuade you, because you're constantly worried about what the people see, what they think of you, and how they see you in the world. And you're shaping, you're maneuvering every step you take, and you're doing everything you can to appeal to all these different people. And the sad part about it is that you're not even happy with yourself, and your self-esteem is technically low because your self-esteem relies on what other people see about you. So that's why I really love the book. I think it's one of the most introspective books I've read, and really had me start reflecting on things that I always knew, and my parents have always and my dad. I used to want to go to school, middle school, wear some of the J's and all this stuff, and my dad would be like, "Do I send you to school for fashion?" And I'm like, I mean, I want to look good. Like, I don't want to look whack to other people. I got people. You in Detroit, you get flamed. You're not wearing J's. You don't got J's, bro. You getting flamed. But that was one of the first lessons I learned. My dad didn't care about none of that stuff. All he cared about was, am I learning? And that to me is like, in a sense, he's trying to tell me that going to school for what other people think of you and what they see you wear isn't gonna make you happy. Isn't gonna do nothing for you. You might feel a little relief, and you might feel cool, but I don't even see them. I hardly see anybody from elementary. So, point is, the fact is that you have to be able to find the F's that truly matter in your life, and not give an F about what everybody else think about you. And my last book, which is to me the holy grail of how I'm been trying to live my life from now on, because it's really made me reflect on a lot of different things, from my physical, my mental, my emotional well-being, stress, sleep, everything, and just what kind of life I want to live, and like really speak to the inner child in me. And that's going to be The Comfort Crisis. It's one of the books that I get a lot of thoughts from. It really puts in frame of mind things that I used to just really have. I couldn't pinpoint it. Like, I always knew civilization was weird. I always knew that one of the most craziest things that I've always thought to myself is that I've always felt like mental health issues is just a reflection of, is a symptom of modern civilization. And I really do feel like, if it makes sense if you really think about it. It's perfectly reasonable for people to have mental health issues if you live in a very dysfunctional society, right? You have to have there's no way you can be sane when you live in a society that's insane. We're literally in a world where we're tweeting and talking about stuff and posting stuff, and you could be talking to somebody that's literally going through an entire battlefield in war. Their lives are at risk, and like, we're really seeing this in real time, as if it's just content in a way that's just for our entertainment. And that's crazy when you think about it, like that we're exposed to that type of stuff, and we can't even do nothing about it, and we have to see like all of this is normal. So I say that to say that you have to be cognizant of how you expose yourself to all these things in the world, and you have to be cognizant of what that effect is onto you, but also reflect on your life outside of it. Reflect on the things that truly matter to you, and reflect on the things that you want to do to make an impact, to make things better for everybody. Because to me, that's how I looked at it. When I read The Comfort Crisis, it made me realize that my emotional well-being, my sanity, is just a reflection of the fact that we live in America in a very way that is counterproductive to us. We're living to survive, to pay bills, to work, to pay bills, to pay for the medicine, the drugs, to fix us, because we're constantly just doing stuff to survive. It's actually just a big old cycle, and then we wonder why we're sick, why we get cancer, why we develop all these diseases that our ancestors did not have. We sit down all day and like, cool, that's a demure job and soft life, but at the same time, your body's is basically going through a trophy. Your body is basically decaying because you barely are using it. You're sitting all day, and then you just think exercising for an hour or two is gonna fix the fact that you sat all day. Whereas like I think it's recommended that sitting is almost as bad as smoking now. They're learning these things because they're realizing that the modern civilization made us into a world where we're not doing things that speak to us as human beings. We're not balancing the technology with society, with how we're supposed to move our bodies. We're not doing things that are beneficial for us. We're doing things that are constantly how to make somebody else rich and how to survive and constantly live a life of just paying bills and survive to make money, to feel better, to take drugs, to take this medicine, to take all these different chemicals, substances into our body, breathing the chemical, the dangerous substances in the air, and we're not even in tune to nature when we're a part of nature. And it's like to me, I try to reflect on that, how to be outside more, how to do things more in the wilderness, and get more in tune with that part of our being of the way our ancestors used to live. It's like if that means going to the beach, being in the woods, just being outside hiking, being in the forest, being in deserts, being exploring more of the world and interacting with more human beings and not letting the digital world be my entire consumption, but it's actually the physicalness of meeting people, talking to people, understanding other people because we're meant to be social beings. And so to me, I really appreciate the Common Quest. I think everybody should read it. I think it really puts your mind in a reference of like, we're meant to do hard stuff. We're meant to interact with the people. We're meant to eat in moderation. We're meant to do things that challenge us, that makes us see the world, that makes us feel better about ourselves. And we're meant to do things that are beneficial for us, our inner child, and do things that really make you feel well. And I think the problem in today's society is the fact that we lost that because we tend to think all these materialistic things and all these different things in the world is what truly matters when it doesn't. And we tend to find ourselves in this cycle of constantly trying to run this race and trying to figure out what kind of life do I want to live. You have to be authentic to who you are and live a life for you. Because if you are constantly worried about what people see and think of you, then you're kind of living your life according to what other people's expectations are. And that's not good for you. If you really think about it, a lot of the things we see on social media, like when you scroll through and you see these debates, like when I see these debates, I'm always just like, wow, I can't believe these debates are still happening. But they're funny, but it's sort of sad in a way because it's like, I can't help but think that people are out there seeking validation to feel better about who they are. And I think they need that because they're sort of in like this mindset that that who and what they are is tied to their opinions. And when you disagree with them, that's why when you disagree with them, they take it very personally because you're not just disagreeing with their opinion, you're disagreeing with who they are as a person entirely. And when people tie themselves to their opinions and they need a validation from others to verify that who they are is legit, then they're constantly in this victim mindset and this victimness that they're constantly a victim the entire time, and that's who they are. Their identity is tied to this victimness mindset, and that's sad because like if you're always in that state of mind, you're always a victim. So then when do you become the hero of your own story? Like, that's crazy, right? Because like, you're the main character in your own story.